start with Mangalacharana. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Sada Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadhuaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. So we are reading, I guess, verse 11. It hasn't been? Yes, yesterday. Yes. Okay. So we'll discuss verse 11 from chapter 23, Devhuti's Lamentation of third canto. So if you want to open on your mobile, because it's not here, so that you can follow that. No, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah. So everybody got it? Sorry. Yeah. So it's verse 11, Mataji. Yeah. Yeah. So 3.23.11. Okay. तत्रैति कृत्याम् उपाशिक्षा यथोपदेशम् यनेशमेकर्षितो अतिरिरांसयात्मा सिद्धेता ते कृता मनोभवधरिष्ठाय दीनस्तद् भवनं सदृशं विचक्षवा. Vaishnavas, please. Tatra, in that, iti krityam, what is necessary to be done, upashiksha, perform, yatha, according to, upadesham, instruction in scripture, yena, by which, esha, this, me, my, karshita, emaciated, ati riram saya, due to intense passion not being satisfied, atma, body, siddhayata, it may be rendered fit, te, for you, krita, excited, manabhava, by emotion, darshitaya, who am struck, dina, poor, tat, therefore, isha, O my dear Lord, bhavanam, house, sadarsham, suitable, vichakshva, please think of. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Devhuti continued, my dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures, so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. Also, my Lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose. So far in chapter 23, we have seen Devhuti, who is daughter of Swambhu Manu. So she has been very nicely serving her devotee husband, Kardama Muni, with great love, affection, and respect. And she has been serving him with her sweet words, controlling her senses. And she has been serving him for so long that she has become quite weak, very thin, because she was following very strict vows, like a chaste woman. So Kardama Muni, he was obviously, he's a great sage, and he was seeing this, watching this. He became very compassionate, and very pleased with her devotion. If someone serves us, naturally we become pleased with that person. So, and that too with that much dedication. So, by this great sage, his grace, she experienced the actual realization just by serving him. So she was engaged, in the service of her husband, and she was not supposed to be engaged in like austerities or meditation, but she was still sharing her husband's achievements and also she was not able to see or experience herself, but she achieved the grace of the Lord automatically. So we also saw in first canto the example of Narad Muni. So in his previous life, he was son of a maidservant, but his mother, she served great devotees. And along with her, he also got that opportunity to serve the devotees. And he got the opportunity to eat their remnants. So just by serving them and also by carrying out their orders, when they left, they gave him instructions. So by following those orders, he got elevated in his next life, and he became such a great personality, Narad Muni. So for spiritual achievements, the easiest path is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, and serve him to the best of our capability with our heart and soul. And that's basically the secret of this success. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he also stated, Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada, which means like by serving, by receiving the grace of the spiritual master, one receives the grace of the Lord. Similarly, for Devahuti, she served her husband, Kardama Muni, and then she shared his achievements. So we learn that a sincere disciple, just by serving his spiritual master, he can achieve the mercy of the Lord. Obviously, the mercy of the spiritual master as well. So both Kadamani and Devahuti, they were spiritually enlightened. And for a woman, it's a great ambition to have a son just like her husband, highly qualified in that sense. So similarly, Devahuti, she had the opportunity to ask her husband and desired to have a child by their union. Yesterday, in the previous verse, which is also on the board, so we heard His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji. He explained, if Kardama Muni and Devahuti are so spiritually serious, then why do they want a child? He explained, we need to differentiate what's spiritual, what's material, and how can we differentiate that? That's in terms of the purpose. So when we see what's spiritual or what's material, that should be seen based on the purpose, like what activity we are doing, what work we are doing. And the example here was of fire sacrifice. So it can be seen as material in terms of, we can see the material elements, but the purpose is spiritual. So it's actually spiritual. Similarly, like in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna said to Arjuna, fighting a war, if it's done for a spiritual purpose, then it's spiritual. So he said to Arjuna, consider this battlefield, Ranbhumi, as your Yajna-sthali. And your Gandiva? So Gandiva is like the ladle or the spoon used in the sacrifice. And then Ahuti, what are you offering? You're offering Kauravas. And to whom are you offering? So in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains about the Virat Rupa. So you are offering Kauravas to the Virat Rupa. So now we can consider how the sage's desire and Devhuti's desire are actually, we can understand they are, or he explained yesterday, they are actually spiritual desires. And based on, like for different people, based on their past karmas, they have different kinds of needs. Some people, while taking care of their needs, may distract them from spirituality. But for others, not taking care of those needs can distract them from spirituality. So rather than simply by labeling activities as material or spiritual, what he said is we need to focus on what's favorable and what's unfavorable for our spiritual advancement. So that should be our focus. And again, for different people, what's favorable and what's unfavorable may vary. But the focus is how can we be steady on our Krishna consciousness path. And he also spoke about how internals, they are more important than just the externals. So coming back to now today's verse, let's look at a few interesting points from the purport. So it's mentioned in Ayurveda that when the passion of the woman is greater, there is a chance of a girl is being born. And when the passion of the man is greater, then there is a possibility of a son. Devhuti wanted the passion of her husband to be increased by the arrangement mentioned in the Kam Shastra. She wanted him to instruct her in that way. And she requested that he arrange for a suitable house. Nowadays, we see women, they do want a lavish, big house, and a lavish lifestyle. But do they want to be instructed by someone? Not really. Not even by their husband, let alone like anyone else. They rely on their own mind, intelligence. I've got my own mind. I know what to do. I know, what needs to be done. Nowadays, people in general as well, they think, I know what's right. What I'm saying is right. What I'm thinking is right. What I'm doing is right. So please don't tell me. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, above the senses is the mind. And above the mind is the intelligence. And beyond that is the soul. So he's referring here to the spiritual intelligence, which we acquire from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So such intelligence is above the mind. And if you may ask why? Because intelligence can control the mind. So there are times, when we say, I feel like doing this, or I don't want to do this. I like this, I'll do that. But is it our intelligence telling us? For example, we are at work and our boss shouts at us. So we may feel like, and feel like shouting back. But do we really do that? Our intelligence says, no, you need to be aware of the consequences, what will happen. You may be fired, or, look at your performance review is coming up, you may not get bonus, or, all those kind of sorts of things come up. So we may say to ourselves, this is not the right time to, say, but I'll deal with you later. So the point is, the intelligence, the mind has its own default settings, but our intelligence rejected those thoughts. No, you shouldn't do this. And our intelligence restrained us from doing those things. So intelligence has the capacity which is higher. So the mind is above senses and intelligence is above mind. But if we are not spiritually connected, we are not guided by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then our intelligence is rarely able to control our mind. In almost or always, it rather gets controlled by the mind. So then what happens is we don't use our intelligence to control our mind. Rather what we do, we use it to fulfill the desires or the wishes and the demands and commands of our mind. Srila Prabhupada, In one of his letters, he said, "We are supposed to use our intelligence to control our enjoying mentality. But our problem is that we are habituated to enjoying intelligently." So, like, we use our intelligence to enjoy, and that is basically the conditioned stage. So even the intelligence is higher, and beyond that is the soul. So yo buddhe parasastu. And why is the soul considered to be higher than the intelligence? Because the intelligence, or even the intelligence, that's dependent ultimately on the soul. Unless the soul is conscious, nothing actually can happen. So the soul is the source of the consciousness. And what's consciousness? Consciousness is the energy which enables, like, the whole body and the mind, this apparatus to function. And that's why it's considered higher. In an ideal situation, how should it work? Soul, or let's take an example of king, so which is like the soul. The soul or the king should direct and tell the charioteer, which is intelligence, where he wants to go. And then the charioteer, or the intelligent, controls the reins. Reins are which are like mind, and then takes him there. So soul decides, I've been wandering in this material existence for for so long, and now I want to go back to Krishna. And this being communicated by soul to intelligence. And then intelligence uses mind to control the senses and takes the soul on this journey of self-realization. So in today's verse, Devhuti, she wanted her husband to instruct her. So when I read it, it reminded me of Bhagavad Gita verse 4.34, where Krishna says, "Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya updekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina." So to follow someone's instructions, their orders, humility is required. We need to be humble. And we need to be submissive. So, for example, if we go to a doctor and we say, "Oh, I'm sick, I'm not feeling too well, but I don't know what's going on. I don't think I've eaten something wrong, but still I feel..." So we are being humble. We are acknowledging we don't know the problem. We don't know what has caused this sickness. So please tell me. Please let me know. So that's why I've come to you. I've come to the doctor. But if parent thinks, "Oh, this doctor, you know what? I know better than this doctor. What would he tell me? I know 100 times more than he would know." Then can that patient be even treated by that doctor? No. So the humble attitude, rather than the arrogance, I know more than what he knows. So humbleness is required, no doubt. But is it enough? Only humbleness is enough? No, we need to make inquiries. We need to ask doctor, what's wrong with me? Similarly, when we take shelter of the spiritual master, we start seeing ourselves, what our guru is seeing. This means when we ask questions, when we inquire from him, we gradually, by these inquiries, develop our capacity for spiritual perception. But it doesn't mean we started, asking questions and about inquiring today, and tomorrow we will be seeing everything Sachidananda everywhere, No, but we start developing the capacity for deep thinking, and which leads to deeper observations. So, for example, in today's world, how we see all these promises being made about happiness, they are false, right? So the spiritual master tells, or Krishna tells, says in Bhagavad Gita, this world is a place of misery, like dukhalyam, right? But then when we go out, we see, so many advertisements, or on TV, everyone's kind of smiling, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, other social media. People post all their videos, photos, of them having fun. So you're like, is it place really, the Kaliya place of misery? But gradually, you start seeing beyond the surface. When we look at, in reality, look at the people, everyone is kind of, have some kind of sadness or frowning or frustrated, So using the same example of doctor, when we say, okay, the first day, doctor, I don't know what's wrong with me, so please tell me, about my sickness, about the cause. But what's the next important thing is, if we don't take the medicine, whatever doctor prescribe, even though doctor would tell us and we would know what's wrong with me, in exhaustive detail, but would I be healed? Would I be cured unless I take the medicine? No. Similarly, just knowing things, the knowledge won't cure us unless we follow the prescription, which is sevya, the application, the service-mindedness. So the application is in service. But some people may say, I don't need a guru. Why do I want to have a guru? Why can't I have a direct relationship with Krishna? I can have direct relationship with him. If he loves me, why would he want me to go to someone else, to a guru? Can't he just reveal himself to me? Well, Krishna can do anything. So it's not about what Krishna can do. It's rather a matter of how Krishna wants us to do. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, as we heard, Tadvidi pranipatena. So know this by going to a spiritual master. So Krishna loves all living beings, no doubt. But at the same time, Krishna is reciprocal. So for example, if you go and meet someone, and the person is like stone-faced, you're trying to have a conversation, maybe you praise that person, appreciate that person is stone-like. Someone comes and they abuse that person. Person is still, stone-faced. So in one sense, at one level, it's like, oh, he's so tolerant. That's a good quality, isn't it? So stoic. But then, would it be possible to develop a relationship with that person? What makes a person lovable is reciprocity. So Krishna reciprocates. So those who approach him with love, he reciprocates with them. And he loves, especially those who love him. And Krishna wants to glorify his devotees, especially those devotees who have sacrificed everything, all pleasures, everything in this world for his sake. And they are focused on pure devotion. They have sacrificed everything for him in the world. So he wants to reward them. Of course, he rewards them by giving them the ultimate reward, the inner reward, love of Krishna. And he would take them back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. But Krishna wants to reward them in this world also. Though devotees, they don't want anything of this world. They are free from any attachments of any things of this world. But Krishna wants to reward them by granting them, by giving them the authority over the way out for this or of this world. As we said, this world, is a place of misery. And the most important and precious thing is to know how to get out of it. The way out is rather than any treasure. There's no treasure in jail, right? This place is like a jail. So it's not like any treasure here. Rather, the most important precious thing is how to get out of here. So the key to the door. So the key is, or the important thing to know how to get out of this world is the knowledge, which is the most precious thing. And Krishna gives those to his devotees who sacrifice everything, offer everything to him. So he gives them that authority. So he said, you become the distributors of this knowledge to everyone. And without becoming submissive to them, this knowledge can't arise in our heart. Because we may read books, theoretically, we may understand, okay, this concept, okay, that concept, but would it lead to any transformation? It's not about collecting information, it's about inner transformation. So how would that transformation help? Because once transformation happens, it will lead to redirection of our heart's love from this world to Krishna. And for that, sevaya, we need to serve our spiritual master and get bhakti from him. So essentially, when Krishna is saying, go to spiritual master, even though Krishna can do everything, anything, he can reveal himself to us directly, but we need to understand that he is in loving reciprocation with his devotees and he wants to glorify his devotees in this world. So if we want to come out of this world, we need to surrender or be submissive to them to understand the way out. In first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna wanted to glorify his great devotee Bhishma Dev. After the Kurukshetra war, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was quite overwhelmed, Even though it was by the will of the Lord. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he became just like a common man. He was thinking, I'm the most sinful person. His heart was full of ignorance. He thought, my body, this body, it's meant to be used for others. It's meant for others. But it has killed so many brahmanas, friends, brothers, gurus, so many people. I would never ever be relieved from the hell. And what he was thinking, I've done such a great sin. Even though for kings, to kill for the right cause, for protection of his citizens, it's not a sin. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, he thought, this rule doesn't apply to me actually. No. Because I did it for my own greed. I wanted the kingdom. So this rule, it doesn't apply to me. So as a super soul, Krishna, he didn't allow Yudhishthira Maharaj to be convinced, when Vyasa, the other great sages, they tried to pacify him. Because he wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj to get or hear instructions from Bhishma Dev, who was on his deathbed on the arrows. So, if Krishna wanted, he could have pacified, Yudhishthira Maharaj, But he didn't. He rather wanted his devotee, Bhishma Dev, to be glorified. So, like Bhishma Dev, apparently, we say, he was living as a worldly man. But in fact, he was far more superior than the great sages. And it's written in Bhagavatam, in Vyasa Dev. So Lord wanted to show that his pure devotees, they are always sound in their body and mind by the dint of spiritual enlightenment. And so, in any circumstance, a devotee of the Lord is in a perfect situation or order to speak of the right way of life. Krishna declares that worship of his devotees is more valuable than worship of the Lord himself. But the problem in Kali Yuga with people, we think we are actually quite intelligent. The Srimad Bhagavatam clearly says, 1:110, Manda sumanda matyo, manda bhagya hi upadruta. People in Kali Yuga have short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky. And above all, they are always disturbed. But when we hear such verses, the first thing comes to mind is, does it apply to me? Because we always feel or take so much pride in our education, like modern education, in modern science, technological advancements, so much development happen. And when you read the verse 1:10, it gives you a shock, what? Because I thought, or I've been told since my childhood, we are so smart, we should apply our own mind. Because this is what our education, the modern education tells us. But when you actually read scriptures, you get so surprised to see everything is so detailed, so prescriptive. But unfortunately, it's not being taught in the modern education schools. Anyways, so when we study scriptures, the Shastras, and we contemplate, then we realize, yes, people in Kali Yuga, they do have short lives. It's not because of just shortage of food, rather because of irregular habits. People develop different kinds of diseases. At work, I've noticed, people have irregular sleeping patterns. They often sleep late at night, maybe watching movies or late night get-togethers. Some people have different night shifts. They work at night and they sleep during the day. Eating at odd times, and most of the times overeating because we like certain foods, so for sense gratification. Manda, lazy. We think, oh, I'm not lazy, rather I'm super busy. But we are lazy both materially and in self-realization. You ask how? People generally, we hear all the time, oh, I don't have time for all these spiritual activities, especially when you go for book distribution, that team would know. But the thing is, they don't even have time for themselves. What, I go to gym, but I can't cook my food though. I don't have time, I'm quite busy. But are you busy or are you lazy? In India, people say, oh, I've got domestic help, so why should I cook? Maids, for cooking. In West, people say, oh, I'll just take, the takeaway. Or nowadays, it's like, oh, I'll order food online. It's so quick, easy. I'll just eat chips, or biscuits, or those kind of things like processed food or, ready-to-eat meals, which obviously is not fresh. So some people, they say, oh, I'm actually living on protein shake. Vitamin tablets, so common, so popular, these days, rather than eating fresh fruit, vegetables, milk, grains. Some people I heard, they cook large amount of food over the weekend and then they fridge it or freeze it. Some people fridge it or some people just freeze it. And they say, oh, it's easy. Just take it, put it in the microwave and then eat it throughout the week. So, because it's hard to get up early in the morning, keep snoozing your alarms. But anyways, people just try to postpone things until the last minute. It's laziness, And we don't really see the desire for self-realization because we are not taught. So partly because of bad education system. And Sumanda Mateo, misguided, as I said, by the education system. And also there's innumerable scriptures containing different methods, prescribed duties, different spiritual instructions for satisfaction of our soul, for our Atma. But then we find some people, they misguide us, say, oh, I'm the God. And people fight in the name of religion, dharma, different gods, without even understanding what actually God is, who actually God is, what religion means. And younger generation, unfortunately, they look up to those celebrities, influential people as their role models. And they are being misguided because they don't set a good example. Mandabhagya, unlucky. Unlucky because we are not reading scriptures. And there are wars everywhere. We are seeing war between Ukraine and Russia. With India, sometimes we have problems with Pakistan, sometimes we have problems with China. So always tension at the borders. So that's basically the nature of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga itself means quarrels. And it's not only between countries. Within families, siblings are fighting, parents are fighting, children are fighting, spouse, and they are even unable to resolve those differences or those issues. And they go to courts over trivial matters, maybe for wealth, money. So people are giving priority to money, property, wealth, power. I want this, that. And there are a lot of misunderstandings in relationships, of different kinds of relationships, no commitment, extramarital affairs. Anyway, so human values, they're kind of having been distorted and become quite relative, which leads to anxiety. And that's why it's people are always disturbed, distracted, or attracted towards the sense gratification. Like cinemas, watch movies, go to sports, watch, World Cup match. Children, they are busy on their phones playing video games. Adults on their social media accounts, the whole day kind of thing. So no kind of peace of mind and no interest in spiritual activities, values, and in the name of advancement, civilization, rather people are creating tensions which are quite difficult to resolve. But when we read scriptures, we see examples of dedication, humility, submissiveness. So last night I was reading Ramayana for children with my daughter. And we came across a pastime of Hanumanji. So when he goes to find Mother Sita, he sees something glittering in the ocean, and he was wondering, what could it be? So it was a radiant mountain rising from the ocean. It was like a big, giant mountain, which almost touched the skies. And it blocked the Hanumanji's path. He couldn't see anything beyond that, the big massive obstacle of the mountain. And that mountain looked like a paradise due to like the scenic lays, trees with fruits, and different herbs, beautiful gardens. And in the middle, right at the center, almost at the same height as Hanumanji's, an effulgent personality with folded hands appeared. She said, "I'm Mount Menka. Long back, all the mountains had wings. We could fly freely from one place to another. Unfortunately, because of a few proud mountains, Indra decided to clip all our wings, making us immovable." And then she continued. She said, "With the help of the ocean god, Varuna, I hid under the ocean. By serving you, I'll have this opportunity, a chance to reciprocate the kindness Varuna had bestowed upon me, even though it was ages ago. So kindly come and purify my peak with your saintly visit." But the invitation to rest is always kind of tempting, But for Hanumanji, he thanked the mountain and said, "The word rest, it's not in my dictionary. I'm on a mission. I cannot think of my own comforts at this moment till I achieve my goal. So I must go." So Hanumanji, he touched the mountain with his hands, accepting its services, and flew away, continuing with his mission. So from this, we can see how dedicated Hanumanji is to serve Lord Rama. He didn't think of his own comforts, like his own pleasure. As we saw in this verse, today's verse, Devhuti, she became so weak and thin while serving her husband. She wasn't thinking of her own comforts. Rather, she was thinking and more dedicated towards serving her husband. So, just to wrap up today what we discussed, we spoke about how important it is to be submissive. Like Devhuti, she was so dedicated to serving her husband, and that's how she got the spiritual enlightenment. Similarly, for us, it's important to be submissive, to serve our spiritual master, who can enlighten us with spiritual knowledge. We spoke about we shouldn't fully rely on our intelligence or mind, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, on the Kali Yuga mind, Kali Yuga intelligence. We also spoke about Bhagavad Gita verse 4.34, that we should approach our spiritual master to gain this spiritual knowledge, to get out of this world. We spoke about the great devotee, Bhishma Dev, and how Krishna wants to glorify his devotees. Rather than convincing Yudhishthira Maharaj himself, he wanted Bhishma Dev to pacify the king. We also spoke about Hanumanji and how dedicated, devoted he was to Lord Rama. So we will finish here. Thank you for your time and kind attention. Any comments or realization anyone wants to share? Okay, so we'll finish. Yeah. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.